What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the After Credits Scene. We're here giving you our forecast and prediction for episode 5 of Moon Knight. Whole lot of stuff happened in episode 4, and the way that this show has been going, they have been moving the story forward very, very quickly. Even though it's taking place in a very short period of time, the ideas in this story are moving very, very quickly. And while my last several predictions, some of them have kind of fallen short, you might think it'd be very easy for me to kind of back off a little bit and give very, small predictions and not make a lot of moves. I'm going to kind of double down on everything this week. We got 2 episodes left, and I think thus far maybe I've kind of grasped a little bit of where they're going with this, the pacing that they're doing, and we'll get into a lot of that when we get down here at the end. However, I was right on one really big thing, and that's why I'm kind of doubling down again here. I've been telling you guys for weeks to listen with your eyes and ears because every clue matters. We had it right in the middle here, and I've been telling you guys over and over and over again that all these little clues are insights into Marc's mind, into what's going on with Steven, all these different little pieces, and were little Easter eggs, little things that happened in episode 1 and 2 and 3 that paid off at the end of episode 4. Not to mention the whole metaphor of the tomb. There were so many tombs in episode 4 that you could go a lot of different directions with that. And so they're really playing with these things, and they're giving it to you on a platter here in a lot of ways. And so we're going to dive right into that, and that's why all these other predictions, I'm just doubling down on being certain that this is where we're going. So for instance, the Rubik's Cube here in episode 1, where Marc is looking to try to fall asleep and he's messing around with the Rubik's Cube. You got to see that along with a whole bunch of other things in the psych ward segment that they had at the end. My big question here is, as Marc escapes from Arthur's office and he rounds a corner and the lights and everything, they tried to make it out like he was still disoriented from the drugs. But I'm wondering if you heard the noise that was being made at that time. If you didn't, and you don't believe me here, there's going to be a link up here at the top somewhere to our Easter egg video for episode 4. Go back and watch that. I got a clip of that audio, and you can listen to it. It is the sound of a creaking boat, and the lights are swaying as if they're on a boat. And so that's where I'm going with this. I think as much as some of this might be in Marc's head, a lot of this could be Amit or Arthur or other gods messing with Steven and Marc. And I think it's just this combination of Marc's psyche along with all this Egyptian stuff just really coming together and it all just kind of blending together. It's almost as though you're getting stuff from what could be considered Khonshu's perspective, where Khonshu is inside the mind of Marc and Steven, and they're all kind of working this out. But there were scenes from some trailers. One of the big shots we have not gotten yet is the boat that looks like it's floating across the desert. I would imagine that's the Field of Reeds, that Marc is dead or dying because he got shot at the end of episode 4, and that it is not that he's been making all of this up, but that he is on his way to the afterlife. And you got just a brief glimpse of it. There was some stuff that was things that you'd seen before, and then there were some things that were foreshadowing as to what was coming. So I'm 100% certain of this. I think we're going to find out somehow that he's on some kind of boat, and this is some kind of weird afterlife thing, but it's also his mind kind of making sense of that, because rather than playing into the idea that Marc is somehow damaged because of his DID, I think they're really going to go into this idea that it can make him something more and something better. So having said that, I think with our foreshadowing of this other sarcophagus in the psych ward, Steven had his time to shine. Marc has had his time to shine when it comes to rescuing each other. And I think Jake is going to get his time as well. Something here that's going to allow Jake to play into some of these things over here at the end. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm almost certain here Jake is going to pop up here. I think that's our big enough reveal in episode 5, leading into whatever this final battle is here. And I think Jake, if he's ever going to pop up, this is where he pops up, episode 5. I don't think they leave him for the finale. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Getting a little bit of help from above and below. Like I said, we ended the episode with Towerette, and there was an Easter egg there as well, as Mark and Donna are setting up the gift shop in episode 1. There are a whole bunch of hippos on the table, but there's also a box of plush hippos that are Towerette dolls. And Steven actually says the name, Towerette. I didn't know exactly what he was saying at first. It didn't really make sense. You kind of blew over it in episode 1. But now 3 episodes later, you can go back and say, oh, that's exactly what he was saying. So I think we're going to get some help from Towerette here. That's her role as far as the Afterworld is concerned. Even though she's not the goddess of the underworld like Hades or something like that in Greek culture, she's tied to it in a lot of different ways, as well as Hathor and some others. So you can go back and look at all that in Egyptian culture. I think not only do you get some help from this god here, but Hathor and some others, because over here we're going to get into Mark and Steven and Jake having to figure out a way to get back to Khonshu. And I think if they're in the afterlife here, that's an easier way for someone like Mark, who doesn't have an Egyptian god living in him anymore. That's a really good way to put him in a scenario where he's able to access this world, where he can get access to the little Khonshu Ushabti again. So I think he's got to have some help here from these people. Jake is going to help him do some things that he's unwilling to do or whatever. And then in the real world here, we get Arthur Harrow actually getting access to Amit's Ushabti, becoming Amit's avatar, and certain things start happening here at the end. So these two things here, I think, are going to start happening at the same time. We've had a lot of Mummy vibes. We've had Indiana Jones vibes. We've had National Treasure vibes. I think we get some Tomb Raider vibes here. I thought about Ant-Man's character in Infinity War and other times joking about the idea that it's a time heist. It's a tomb raid of some sort, that they're going to have to figure out how to get in there and get Khonshu back so that they can fight this foe. I could see them ending shortly before that happens and letting you start off episode 6 that way, but I think this is where they're going to end episode 5, is them getting to this point where they're able to reunite Mark and Khonshu. I've been pushing this idea that we're going to get backstory over and over again. All of the backstory has come in inference and dialogue-driven things. I would love to see the moment where Mark first becomes Khonshu. And I don't know that it would be some kind of weird time loop thing where Mark's personalities or allow him to become Khonshu in the past where none of this stuff has happened. And I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think I would like for that to happen. It would be really interesting, but it's a little much storyline-wise, where we've already gotten a lot of other twists and turns. I think a much more straightforward approach here, where we get some kind of backstory. You can see what happened, so Mark can actually understand what happened. Steven can understand what happened, and they can move forward in the right way. Maybe somehow Arthur was involved in that. Would be an interesting little twist that might come true here. It would piece together why Khonshu left Arthur as an avatar, why Arthur is seeking out a new avatar, and why he has this change in belief system too, if there was something that went on here in the backstory in addition to Layla's dad dying. I think we end with Khonshu and Mark getting reunited, and the end of this story is the beginning of what's going to happen in the finale here. I think there needs to be a confrontation between Amit and Khonshu, and this elevated level of what was just this human story where humans are coming into contact with these powers suddenly becomes this otherworldly story where these gods and these superpowers are now at odds with each other, and the humans are just along for the ride, as opposed to what we've been seeing the entire time up until this, which is the humans are in control because they're the avatars, and the gods are just kind of along for the ride. They do pieces and parts. I think we get in episode 6, we get a very Moon Knight superhero heavy episode. And at the end, as it wraps up, you kind of get some of that humanity restored type thing, where they kind of learn to all get along. But this episode 5, I would say heavy lifting, but I really think there's a pretty straightforward story here, and I'm going to double down on all of it. I think it all hinges on some of this boat stuff that they gave you some clues for. And again, in episode 5, pay attention to all the little things, because there's a lot of story elements here, a lot of Egyptian culture and things that they're weaving in very seamlessly to create this whole new world. The world building is really, really good, which is probably my only complaint with episode 4, was that they did such a good job with the world building for the twist in the psych ward with all those different elements and those characters that they built up to, that I felt like the first 2/3 of episode 4 in the tomb, which was, we got to get to Amit's tomb, felt very substandard in comparison to all that other stuff. And so it was like, man, you did such a good job world building. They really blew through some stuff. And so my second, third, fourth viewing of episode 4 made that portion of the episode better. But aside from the twist in the last third of the episode, was not one of my favorite episodes, but was not a substandard throwaway episode. It had a lot of meat to it, even in the parts that I thought were lesser done than the ending of the episode. So also pay attention here to look for an after credits scene. I think there might be some kind of stinger after all the credits. They've been changing the credits a little bit over time, but I think there might be something after this that gives you a little bit more foreshadowing, a little bit more kick. In episode 5, I could see them putting that in there just as a bonus, and then leading right into the finale. A lot of hype for that finale. There'll definitely be an after credit scene in episode 6, but we'll get to that later on. So tell us what you guys think. Again, I've kind of got to double down here to get my ratio of right answers to wrong answers back up to snuff, but I think I'm on the right track here. I think this is going to be a really awesome episode. I have high expectations that this is going to be my favorite episode of the show. Really looking forward to it. The show is still on track to be one of the best Disney Plus shows that they have put out thus far. Curious to see what you guys think. As always, please like and subscribe to our channel. Check out all of these other videos. We got a lot of content you can sink your teeth into. And when the next one drops, guys, we'll see you right back here. Later.